Okay, hi Capricorn. Welcome to Catalyst Energies and welcome to your astrology forecast for the full moon in Leo, which is on February 16th, 2022. And we're going to look at the general themes for Capricorn rising, Capricorn moon, and Capricorn sun leading up to the next new moon in Pisces, which will be on March 2nd or March 1st, depending on where you are, 2022. So welcome back, everyone. If you're new here, welcome. Thank you for sticking around and checking it out. One thing I'd like to let you know is that this particular series is going to be moved to a subscriber base only. So if you're really getting value out of this particular content and you want to continue to do so, you may want to consider subscribing for $3 a month. The link to Subscribe Star is in the description box below, and you can sign up and get auto draft and not have to think about it anymore. And you have access to these bi-weekly astrology reports and weekly Starseed meetups on Zoom, and then also all the free content, the daily transmissions, and the astrology reports. So that's all there for you in the description box. So Capricorn, I'd like to say that the hard part may be over for you. I'm not sure if that's true. I think that the full moon that we see here in front of us, and we have Venus and Mars coming together in your first house, Capricorn, is definitely a release point, right? A release from some sort of inhibiting aspect of who you are, something that's been holding you out of alignment with yourself, or has not allowed for you to finally start initiating the growth of something new in your persona or personality. And the Capricorn person has certainly been the poster child for a lot of the demolition aspect of reality lately because of Pluto in Capricorn and so much of the Capricorn energy being relevant recently. But at this full moon, as you can see, that is in Aquarius, and the moon is in Leo in the 8th house and the grand square. All of that is information that you can access with the new moon report that is for Capricorn. I talk a lot about it, and the Pleiadian revival. So they'll both be linked in this in the description box so that you can get context for this incredible grand square, because I've talked about it a lot, and it's very important, and there's a lot going on, but it will take up the whole report. And really, we're talking about what we do now after this culmination point of the full moon, right? We see a very accurate, maybe not fully accurate, but it is a reflection, but it's still a very bright reflection of that which is normally something that is felt and is dark, which is the moon, right? It goes through its own process. And so with the full moon, we get full illumination of that which is usually less accessible by our awareness. And for the Capricorn person, this is happening along the axis of your resources before moving into the areas of your mind and understanding. So the 2nd and 8th house for Capricorn people is Aquarius. So we know that this full moon, which is happening today as I'm recording this, is for the Capricorn person really showing if the material world and one's wealth, right, one's material ownership, right, their assets, and this can be financial, this can be energetic, this can be in your literal anatomy and your genetic code, right? The 2nd house is the objective world that is everything but us, which is the 1st house. It is your objective world and the world around you, your assets, and that which provides or creates or grows the assets that you do have, or that you invest, I guess you would say. Anyway, does this have the capacity to store the incredible amount of energy that is generated in your relationships? And as we see here with Capricorn, as with a number of other signs, a lot of the action is here down at the bottom of the chart, which has to do with you as an individual. These areas of life have to do with the individual consciousness and its growth. And you just have a couple of reminders in the zodiac right now of your relationship with other and how you grow as a result of that. And one of them is this full moon up here in the 8th house of power, and the power that's generated in collaborative relationships or in any kind of binding agreement. So this is all kinds of resources. So we know the full moon for Capricorn is along the realm of resources, and then the story is about to shift into the realm of the mind and understanding. And that's going to be really highlighted when we come to the March new moon on the 1st/2nd. It's going to be in conjunction with Jupiter. And, Neptune's been in this area for a long time. And this is an avatar. 13 degrees in galactic astrology is like an avatar. It is also, in particular, is in a trine. This new moon will be in a trine to Sirius. So this is a Sirian starseed marking. So for the Capricorn person, the ultimately finishing out a cycle about your resources and your ability to be tapped into your resources and the world around you as your resource is really important to understand as you're about to go into a realm that has to do with the mind and your mind and how you express yourself in the world around you, how you cognize and take in data and information in the world around you. How do you learn, right? What's the language that you use? Like, what are the symbols? What are the patterns of your everyday mental existence that sustains you, right? And for the Capricorn person, it is the transcendental that really is brought right to your immediate reality. And Neptune is a big part of that right now. And so it's about to get a lot stronger in this particular realm of how you express yourself and what you think, what you know, and how you reason and what you practice and what information you are learning about. So, and I think a big part of this for the Capricorn person, as we're going to see as we move through the chart, is that what's going on in your first house, especially with Venus and Mars together all the way until they get to Aquarius, is that there's a new seed being planted for you, your personality, your persona, like something new is now going to start growing, and it's going to have a direct impact and even support or assist in some ways in the way you express yourself, the quality of your communication and expression, your ability to tap in through your mind and your intellect, the spiritual essence that we are all together, and something in you, right? Something in your very persona, in who you are, is ready to be not only like released from, but there's going to be a balancing of accounts in some way for the Capricorn person in their very persona that is again going to really allow for an investment, right? Where there hasn't been the resources in your personhood and your persona, your subjective experience to really invest in anything in terms of your consciousness, right? And that's about to change. Right? That's about to change. And so it starts with these two in a conjunction at the full moon, right? And it starts with this full moon that is, again, highlighting your ability to feel into, you're like a magic mirror when the moon is in the 8th house, right? Your ability to be like a magic mirror in that you look at your reflection in the still water and you get, you see something that you normally wouldn't be able to see. Or you're feeling into and you're very sensitive to the power that's being generated in your relationships. And this is a direct relationship with the resources that you put into those relationships, which is really what goes on in your 6th house. So Capricorn. So we talked about a new aspect of yourself that's really going to then allow your consciousness to start to really expand again instead of being kind of like a passive experience. Now, Jupiter has been in Pisces for a minute now, and I think this has been really helpful in finding meaning in patterns in your your mind and your consciousness, and giving a sense of understanding and wisdom and true inner vision, and something to like actually some sort of symbolic representation of this, when before it had been for years, just been very nebulous, and no boundaries at all. So when the sun does come into it right after the full moon, it's going to take all of the storage facilities of your resources and apply them to your consciousness growing. This is a very exciting time for Capricorn, okay? So let's actually look at the next week, because it's these quarter moons that are really the pain in the butt for us. So the first point is that Venus and Mars will come up again, because what it's going to be doing is... Here, let's move ahead a little bit. What it's going to be doing, these two in succession will sextile Neptune, right? So this is the balancing of accounts, the recompense that you finally get something back into your own personhood and identity, through Mars and Venus actually having already come together and traveling together. They are fertilizing a seed, right? This is that the Mars is the masculine and Venus is the feminine, and they are creating something that they know will grow into a forest, right? It starts with one seed, and for Capricorn, it's in who you are. And then this is going to be an investment of that balancing of accounts into, like I said, what has normally been a very nebulous and boundaryless, very broad general ideals being brought right into your immediate reality that are transcendental but have been very hard to grasp. It's very foggy in the mind here, and you can easily get pulled into all manner of propaganda here. But like I said, Jupiter is allowed now for a symbol that you can like an abstraction that you can be like, oh yeah, this represents this spiritual vision that I have in my consciousness. And now that the sun is here, the identity is finding itself in this as well. But what you see is that it is in a square to the third quarter moon in your 12th house. So there's still experiences all through up from the full moon throughout the weekend for the Capricorn person, where you're really feeling into the dynamics of the whole. And by the time you get to the 12th house, you're really feeling into the collective unconscious. You're feeling into karmic relationships, multidimensional experiences, things that may not be your own, but are definitely part of karmic stories that maybe need to close out. Maybe you're feeling very isolated. Maybe you are very psychically in tune to the collective's energy, but also not knowing. It's a little bit difficult to establish, where you end and other begins when you have this moon in the 12th house. And in particular, we feel a lot of strength when we have a moon in Sagittarius, very much a lot of inner strength. And so you're going to feel this inner strength in your spiritual, the house of spiritual endings, right? The house of pulling it all together, and the house of giving oneself back to God, for instance, is going to be through the group solidarity, the action of working as a team. And as much as that inner strength is going to feel really good, and it's going to feel really right, remember what you were feeling up here at the full tilt of the power of your relationships, because that's going to have a direct impact on the strength and the intensity of the action here. But also too, remember that you're not getting the full emotional picture at a quarter moon. You're only getting half of it that's illuminated. And the sun is in the third house, in the realm of the mind, and the realm, like I said, the realm of consciousness, especially Pisces. It's definitely like this spiritual consciousness that and a sense of giving oneself completely to the immediate environment. as if there is no separation, is about to become like the center of your expression, Capricorn. And that has nothing to do with the collective's karma at all. It has to do with your own authentic expression in the realm of ideas and what you're learning, right? Your consciousness. So that's going to be, I think, a real challenge, since Capricorn people have a tendency to really want to, be engaged with the group integration, right? That there's an understanding that it takes a lot of different energies to accomplish something. So to feel a lot of inner strength in that moment, but and also feel the challenge of not getting the full picture as you're expressing yourself in your own mental realm. I think that's going to be very interesting, dynamic for all of us. There's a crisis point here, but for the Cap person, at the same time, this balancing of counts of who you are is really going to give something, and in the realm of your spiritual consciousness, right? Something has been blocked, and something new is about to start growing, and there's going to be an acknowledgement of what's been offered over and given something back, and it's going to go invest right into your spiritualized consciousness, this broad humanitarian transcendental perspective that comes right into your mind. That's going to be the focus for you. I feel like that, this is like aha moment, like spiritual, very spiritual, very imaginative, very dreamy mental states, right? This could be very active in terms of that, actually. And like I said, a symbol, something referencing this larger experience in Jupiter. But it's going to be what's happening over here, Capricorn, that's really going to allow for this. But the strength that you will feel, the inner strength that you're going to feel, is going to be much more about the spiritual and collective unconscious of everything that you're part of. And so that has to do with your Akashic field and your past lives too, and entities that aren't even you, right? It's in the collective's karma. And I would just caution everybody to not, it's going to feel like you're going to feel this, like, you're going to want to bear down into this place. And I'm not suggesting that you won't, but the more you do that in your feelings, the more agitation and the more you're going to want to spring back into expression in a completely different area of life. And this is what these squares do. Right? Can you handle the fullness of the power of your relationships, and what that's going to be like when you get to the end of the line here? So I think that for Capricorn, this is a very exciting time. Now, what Mercury is also coming out of its post-retrograde shadow at this time, and is not only in a sextile to Chiron, but right after that then squares Uranus. So the area that has been the wounded trigger area for Capricorn has been in the area of, your marriage or your family of origin, or your immediate family. And it's really about your inner and personal life and where you're drawing your own personal power from. And when that is being experienced, this is also where the Capricorn person likely is being triggered. And so Mercury now in Aquarius is getting full downloads, right? Full zip file downloads into, from the very material world. Like the mind is this medium to pick up. It's like your actual mental capacity right now to tap into the objective world is substantial. And you have Saturn here, which is providing, can be very, and is your ruler, by the way. So this is either like really creating so much inertia that you can't get out of, like, the pit that you're in, like a black hole just pulling you into where you've come from so that you can never grow out of it, right? Like it's like being buried alive almost, or being the gravity of things just not allowing you to even like come out of the soil. But it also does provide an incredible amount of stability in the material world. A very strong and stable, either stability or growth, possibly, because time isn't static, and that's what Saturn really represents, is that there is always an unfolding. So this is also stabilizing this area for Capricorn in a very powerful way, because Saturn is your ruler. And so this second house is still a big deal in terms of where you're finding your most stability. And then also the mind is being, and your mental resources are just as powerful as anything else right now. And it's really going to allow for a healing opportunity in terms of your emotional resources, and where you find your emotional stability, which is where you're being triggered all the time. And so I think trying to find a sense of stillness in worrying, right? This feels like a lot. It could be a lot of worrying, but in Aquarius, you are worrying about really big issues, okay? And really big issues in the world around you. And so this stillness in your mind in this moment can really help still the waters of your own spirit, so that you're not getting pulled into the distortion that you're seeing every time you're getting triggered in terms of your own emotional security and where you draw your power from. So stillness in the mind when it comes to, just actual worry and anxiety. You don't want to, you do have Saturn in this instance, which I think is going to work to your benefit since it is so strong with you, Capricorn. And we'll get into that. So Mercury is then going to square Uranus. So the stillness isn't going to really last forever here. And we're just going to have to accept that everybody is where they need to be, even though you're just, the reality is kind of glitching. All of these possibilities continue to like glitch in and out of our awareness, so we can see like all of the possibilities of what we can be. And for Capricorn, especially about, where you shine the brightest. There hasn't been a lot of stability, but there sure has been innovation, and you're not tied down to anything here. And you really are evaluating as many options as possible in terms of what is an expression of your passion. I think that's really, again, very exciting for the Capricorn person, because this is also the area that our collective soul is evolving towards as well, which is about natural value, inherent value, all these Pleiadian things with the North Node in particular. So Capricorn, even though, I think there's just a lot of worry, right? And Saturn is making that either really just like, you can't free yourself from it, but also, too, you can see it as an ally, since it is your ruler, that it's giving you some stability in a very, like, the bones and the structure and the scaffolding of this, so that you can allow for a little bit more, like, freedom of your mind, and not get so overwhelmed with the big picture of what's going on around you. I think that worry is a big problem for Capricorn, right? With Mercury in your second house like this. Worry about resources. So, but it's the stillness that's going to allow you to sink even deeper into what actually stabilizes you is your root system and the soil, right? They're inseparable for healthy growth. But this is like this square to Uranus, I think, is also, you're going to start moving into new mental territory that we haven't been into because in a while, because Mercury is now out of its retrograde shadow and squaring Uranus. Uranus is going to be part of this next new moon because all of this stuff is going to be in a sextile to it. So yeah, these really fundamental, objective, material things are definitely just naturally going to square, having fun, essentially. That's really, and just being in tune with yourself and your voice, right? And being reborn. There's a lot of transformation that's happening here, and sometimes it's a little erratic. But you want to give yourself the freedom for innovation here. You want to not be afraid of the trickster energy or the disruption or just the window shopping of all the possible ways that you can, all of your options to have fun and to seek passion. It's being in communion with the natural world that you really express it. It's just that this is such an unorthodox route because it's Uranus, but this is how we wake up. And your soul, our soul, is evolving, and for you it's in this area of your creative expression. So I mean, I would say that Capricorn has a tendency to really worry about how everything is going to affect everybody else. So maybe this balancing of accounts is going to be a good thing in terms of allowing your consciousness to really spiritually expand. I think this is very important for the Capricorn person's success as we move forward. And then if we look at, so this is going to be a rough time next week, next Wednesday, right? Wednesday. And on either side of it, right, it's going to be a lot of, it's going to be a challenge. We're not going to have the full picture, and this is where a crisis happens. And then we finish out the lunar cycle, and we come into a new moon in your third house with Jupiter, okay? So we see that the moon will have gone through then the first and second and third houses at that point at its darkest. And so there will be strong emotional and intuitive experiences of these areas of life, and we'll come to a new initiation point at a degree that's about being an avatar. And an avatar and this is a Syrian starseed marking. This is an avatar and a Piscean avatar. The avatar of the Pisces age was Christ, right? And so the Christ consciousness is being not only initiated, but is being presented as a symbol, as an avatar, your own expression, your own mind, right? The way you learn, the way you communicate, the third house. This is all and the way you reason. It's going to become a symbol of spiritual consciousness and a sense of real representation with Jupiter involved here. This is really, really, I just feel like Cap is going to just have this massive breakthrough, and people are going to be like, who are you? And it's going to be like that across the board, not only for individual Cap people, regardless of where you find that strong Cap, but also at a socio-political level. I think it'll be like that as well. Now, this new moon, like I said, will be in a sextile to Uranus. So this expansion and this avatar, this intention of growing as an example, as an avatar of some sort of compassion and love and agape, right? Unconditional love, and the Christ teachings in themselves, right? The Christian teachings in themselves. They can be, again, applied to and used as a way to kind of find a stillness or an example in a place that is very unsteady and unstill. And you may find that your self-expression and finding your authentic voice is constantly changing, and you may not even know who you are. And that's part of it. It's totally part of it. And you really are meant to evolve at a soul level in this area right now. So embrace it and embrace the glitching of the matrix, because something is about something very big is about to change for Capricorn people in general. And what you see here also, not only is Uranus involved in this new moon, but Black Moon Lilith in your 7th house, in your relationships. It's really the only the only strong element in the top of your chart, Cap, besides the south node. So again, it's all about your own development, and you do see that there is a primal connection to the form of relationship that is directly enshrined into this whole new moon Syrian. I mean, this is Black Moon Lilith in conjunction with Sirius. So this is incredibly powerful along the Syrian starseed line, I guess you could say. And for the Cap person, it has to do with your own consciousness. And, that has a direct impact and a very strong emotional connection to who you are in your relationships, which is ultimately a protector, and a containment system and a nurturer, and the relationship is like a womb for everyone. And there's something about your survival at a very deep level that is going to, at Sirius, right, is at this point, some part of us that we don't even know is going to find harmony with this avatar expression for Cap in the realm of your mind. So, man, this came out really strong for you, just because I'm pretty sure it's because it's in the 7th house. So it's so related to the most fundamental thing, which is relationship with all of us. So your relationships and the survival of your relationships and who you are in your relationships and what they mean to you is going to be directly related to this huge mental breakthrough that's very spiritual and has a lot of meaning and is really setting an example for others in your life. It's really exciting. So, yeah, I'm going to leave it there, Capricorn. I think that's a pretty good amount of information to work with. So you can, like I said, you can go to... I'll link them in the description box, the new moon report that led up to this full moon, and then also the Pleiadian revival, so you can get more context for some of the more galactic and starseed relevant aspects. But Capricorn, I mean, it's really about you, and I just see this huge mental breakthrough, this huge spiritual expansion of your consciousness through the next 2 weeks. It's going to be remarkable, I think. So I'm curious to know what people are experiencing right now. So always, let us know in the comments what's going on for you. And yeah, if you're interested in a reading or getting energy work to support your process, you can follow the links to the website in the description box below. And you also can get some information at the end of this video in order to either support this channel through Subscribestar or to just get more information through my website. So Capricorn, wow. I'm looking forward to your spiritual expansion. It's going to be pretty remarkable, and like a spiritual rebirth in the mind, or just like a massive expansion in your conscious awareness at a spiritual level. It's going to be substantial, it seems like to me. And so you want to make sure, basically, that your physical reality that surrounds you has the capacity to hold what has the potential to be generated in terms of power in your relationships, because it is really, it's nothing short of rebirth through your relationships. So I'm looking forward to seeing your progression, Capricorn. Until next time, take care of yourself. I love you. Thank you for being here. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to subscribe on Subscribestar if you want to keep getting these particular forecasts after this video, and I'll see you next time, Cap.